Hi, thanks for entering the Discover Cork Schools Heritage Project. I really appreciate it. Kieran McCarthy is my name. I am the coordinator of this particular project for many years now. I work as a local historian, so I write books and history articles on the city and the county, and I've been coordinating this project for many years. So you're very, very welcome. I want to share a presentation with you. It's what I call a short workshop, a short PowerPoint presentation as well. So let me just bring it up and let me share it with you. So here we go from the beginning. So hopefully everyone can see that. Um, so as I said, I research Cork a lot. And one of the things I like doing actually is photographing Cork. And recently I photographed this particular sign on Southern Road on the south side of the city. And you can see its life has been strange lately. And it's got let's get things back to normal. So you can see it's an upside down picture of Shandon. And I really, really like that particular image because life has been strange lately in terms of COVID and how it's upended all our lives. But you'll see underneath this particular sign is like, now is a great time to upskill. And this project is all about moving forward. We can't wait for COVID to finish. It's going to be with us for a few more months. And so you might as well take the time to upskill and learn something new. And that's what this particular project is about. So if I go on, as I say, I like photography. I recently took this particular picture. And it's a picture of the River Lee and then on Nagle Bridge on the south channel of the River Lee. And I really, really like all the tall Holy Trinity Church spire, the Elysian Tower in the center of the slide. And then you can get all this kind of lovely old 19th century architecture with a bit of modern kind of thrown in as well. Somebody once described the architecture of Cork as higgledy-piggledy all over the place. And that's one of the reasons I am actually quite passionate about Cork and why I like photographing Cork and have a huge interest in its architecture and its public spaces, because every corner you turn, there seems to be another story. And the thing about Cork is that you are telling a true and a great story, because one, it's a great city, but B, we're also part of Cork. We walk its streets, we walk its public spaces, we work in Cork, we live in Cork. So we're also part of the story. Whether we like it or not, we're part of the story. And don't get me wrong, Cork has its challenges, but it's also a lovely place to live. So you can see here in the top left of the slide, it's got telling a true and great story. And that's what this project is about. It's about letting you telling this kind of true and great story of Cork. So the project is about thinking about, recording, looking, imagining, kind of figuring out what makes Cork tick. So whether you're doing a project on its landmarks or famous people, it's really, really important to bring out their great story. So let me go on. So you've entered a project, and it's a citywide project, and there's generally 25 schools involved and about 1,000 students. The numbers are slightly down on last year because of COVID, but we're getting there. This year's theme is called Living Through History, because we are living through this COVID-19 time, and I think as the years go on, we'll probably keep talking about the negatives and the positives of COVID. So living through history is the theme. So somewhere within your project, that the living through history theme needs to be mentioned somewhere. And there are prizes for best projects. Maybe your school has entered in the past, and maybe your school has been part of the prizes. The next part is really, really important. The right-hand side of this slide. How is it supposed to put together an A4 booklet or an A3 scrapbook, or you can make your own project book. It must have a beginning and a middle and an end, like most projects you might have done in the past. So an introduction like, hi reader, welcome to the start of my project. I chose this topic because it must have a middle section where you're going to have 3 or 4 sections, like mini chapters, and you're going to have information on your topic and pictures and sketches. I'm not looking for acres of writing with this particular project. I'm looking for a happy balance of a little bit of writing, pictures and sketches to tell the story that you want to tell. Your project book also must have an end. So like, hi reader, welcome to the end of the project. This is kind of what I learned along the way. In terms of getting information, I encourage people to look at different sources. I have no doubt that your first port of call will be the web. You'll go online to see what information is there. I have no problem with that. But keep in mind, I'm not looking for a cut, copy and paste project. So don't cut, copy and paste text from the internet into your project book. write it in your own words. Also this year, because of COVID, there may be restrictions on accessing heritage centres and local libraries, and you may be actually quite web dependent. So my advice is to pick a topic where there is information on either the landmarks maybe you're looking at, or historical characters you're looking at, or whatever your topic actually is. So you might have to come up with a plan B and C as well with your project book. So and your title, so keep that in mind. I do encourage people to go visit the site that you're researching. I do encourage people to look at old newspapers, and I do encourage people to interview people. Perhaps you'd like to virtually interview somebody, so keep that in the back of your mind. Generally, I don't mind what your project book is on, but I do need to see the following kind of 5 pillars. And I will, as this presentation goes on over the next 10 minutes, go down through each one of these and give you an example of what I mean. So your project book needs a design. Your project book needs to be creative. Your project book needs your imagination. It needs your opinion, and your project book needs to get publicity. So you need to show your work to people somewhere towards the end. So let me start with design. So if you are taking notes in a classroom, maybe if you want to write down, be colourful. That would be 2 great words to write down. I'm a really firm believer that the world is a colourful place. And so you need to bring that sort of colour across within your project. Cork is a colourful place, and so bring the colour out within your particular project. So you can see here on the right of the slide, I've kind of written your challenge to bring the story alive. Experiment with the overall design and plan of the project. At the end of the day, it's your work. I don't mind if your project book is handwritten or typed. Keep your handwriting neat and tidy. That's really important. Usually, sometimes every year I get a balance of actually handwriting and typing. I'm open to that. I'm also open if you want to put a bit of Irish in your project book. I'm open to that as well. So let me just go on to this kind of second slide on the design or be colourful pillar. You can see in the top left there, there's a Welcome to Cork City booklet, which was designed by a 4th class a few years ago, and it was a history of shopping in Cork. And 3 of their sections were on old shops of Cork, and the last section was their favourite shop in Cork. So I mean, one of the reasons I show that is that you can see how colourful that particular book, the front of that booklet actually is in terms of colour. But also, sometimes every year I get project books that look like guidebooks. So could you create a guidebook that actually brings someone around the city? So whether it's landmarks or kind of public figures, old historical characters of Cork, and that someone actually could potentially use your project book to be guided around the city. In the bottom left, someone actually has cut out artwork from an Osborne history workbook and kind of pasted it down and actually shaded it in. In the top right, you can see there's a contents page, and in the bottom right, you can actually see there's a map. So I do need sketch maps, I do need contents page. With the maps, don't assume the reader knows where you're talking about. I haven't met you in person, so I don't know every single part of Cork or every single corner of Cork. So do actually have some sort of a sketch map within your project book. This is a typical page I get every year. It's a little bit of writing and kind of pictures. I would like people to do field work, but if museums close and heritage centres close and libraries close because of COVID, then you're going to be snookered a bit more. But do try to take your own pictures. You can see here that a person went to Cork City Jail Heritage Centre and they took some photographs and they put some captions across these 2 pages. And I really, really liked what they were trying to do. And you're probably drawn to the figure of the waxwork museum lad there, a model of a guard in the bottom right of the slide. So I really like their design and their colourfulness. So that's kind of number 1, be colourful. So, and also just before I go on to the next slide, these are just some other pages, just in case you've got questions. Some of your pages could just be old photographs. There's actually or some of your pages could be artwork. And the top left there, there's actually a mosaic of a fish from a church floor. On the top right is a page kind of trying to display an old page look. You could teabag pages, you could cut the edges, burn the edges safely, coffee stain it and create an old page look. And the bottom left is a cartoon history. If you like kind of graphic design, graphic art, I'm interested in that. Also, sometimes I get horrible histories of sites. Also, sometimes I get project books that are on songs and ballads of Cork City. This is something I got a few years ago on the bottom right, where 3 of their chapters were on old songs of Cork. And their last chapter actually was a rap song they actually wrote themselves or they composed themselves. So if you like singing, art, and drama, how could you plug that particular talent into your project book? So that's those are some ideas for the Be Colourful section. The Be Creative section, which is number 2. For this section, you choose one of 2 creative methods. A, make a model on a thing of your project or an aspect of your project, or B, make a short film. So I want to give you an idea of some models I've got over the years. And then I'll say something about the short film as well. So the model can be big or small. I'm not necessarily looking for a huge model, but I am looking for something that has a level of detail in it. Like, don't hand up just a Kellogg's Cornflakes box and you tell me that's Cork City Hall or that's your school or that's a model of a historical character in Cork. Like, do something with it, cut it up, paint it. This is a model, it's a lovely model of Blackrock Castle, where someone used toilet roll and kitchen roll in a Pringles box to put their project book together. Now, this is a 4th class model. If you're a 4th year person, I'm probably looking for something way more elaborate than this. But I like what they were trying to do with this particular model. So you can use any sort of material to make the model, whether that be cardboard to timber. One year I got cake dough. Someone actually baked a cake on one of their topics, and they were doing a history of a train in Cork, and they baked a cake on that. And that sounds quite random, but I really like what they were trying to do. Random is good. This is a model of the Shaky Bridge in Fitzgerald's Park. Now, this model went way beyond the call of duty. And what was great about it is that there is a level of detail on this in terms of the matchsticks and the lollipop sticks you see in the string. But if they had just given me the tower on the right, or half of one of the towers on the right of action, I would have been happy. But it's just to show you kind of some of the work I've got over the years. This is a typical model I get every year using natural materials. This is actually a model of a graveyard from materials found in the graveyard. So moss, twigs, grass, stones, and I really, really liked what they were trying to do. It's not overly elaborate. You can see there are project books there in the top right next to it. So it's about the size of 2 maybe binders put together, even smaller than that. This is a game board I got last year where someone actually worked with their family to put this together, where the student herself came up with questions on 6 Cork spaces, 6 Cork buildings. And then she actually worked with her grandfather, who was a retired carpenter, to build this board game. Now, I'm not saying I'll go away and build a board game, but I am just trying to show you what people maybe have worked in previous years. Also with the model, I'm really, really open to the use of Minecraft, which would actually be a model, which would be a merging of a model and a film. So I'm really open to that as well. I'll just go on a little bit. I will send on this presentation to your teacher, so she'll be able to go through it in a lot more detail. I just want to give you a general overview. This is a model of a country cottage that someone made a few years ago, made out of clay and sausage cocktail sticks for the supports for the walls, and eventually they put a straw roof on it, and you can lift off the straw roof and look in and see kind of broken furniture. You can get a sense of the scale of the cottage by the middles of the picture in terms of the student's hand actually on the model. And the reason I show you this particular picture is that if you are making the model, you will have to take a picture of the model and put the picture into your project book and write out kind of what it's made out of and how long it took you and some other maybe a couple of sentences actually on it. You won't be able to hand up the model with your project book because I can't host 200 models in my house and in my sitting room at the moment giving this workshop. So it's really, really important that you have this page if you do the model. So that's just the model. If you're doing the short film, I do find that a lot of primary school people do the model, and I find a lot of secondary school students actually go for the film. Now there's always an exception to the rule, but if you are seeing this in secondary school, maybe have a think about the film. Again, it depends on what your interests actually are. So the short film could entail interviewing somebody or being a reporter yourself. You could stage a reenactment, but whether or which you'll probably need to find someone with a phone camera maybe a smartphone film app, and actually to splice moving imagery actually together. And you need to put the work then on a USB or a memory stick. Films should not be longer than 5 minutes. They usually, on average, they come in around 3 minutes. So aim for that. If you are interviewing somebody, whether it's on a camera or you're just generally interviewing someone for your project, make sure you're prepared. Make sure the technology is working. Start with easy questions. Get the person talking. Be open, listen, and be patient. Be sure, though, you get the story you need. If you ask someone who's 90 years old, tell me your life story, you will be there for a while, because they've got 90 years of stories they want to share with you. So you need to be more specific with your questions if you're interviewing people. And also, if the person speaks to you for 15 minutes or an hour, I don't need you to write out everything the person said. Just write out the top 5 things the person said, and then have a page called My Interview, where you say that you interviewed maybe John or Mary, and this is what John and Mary actually said, and the 5 points are important to my project book. If you're interviewing anyone, just stay socially distanced and just stay safe. I've no doubt that a lot of interviews this year will be through WhatsApp video or maybe through Zoom technology. In this particular slide, there's a lady called Mary, and she appeared in someone's project a few years ago, and the person doing the project took her photograph and actually put her photograph into their project book. So it was like celebrating Mary's stories, but also celebrating Mary as well for helping, and just generally celebrating Mary as a person. So there's a way of celebrating the people who helped you with your project by putting them into your project book, and to make your project book as personal as possible. Now, there are 3 more pillars, which I'm going to run through quite quickly. So just to recap, you need a beginning and a middle and an end. You need to be colorful, and you need to be creative. The third section is that you need a now and then page, which is about thinking about time and changes and things like that. So a now and then page looks maybe something like this, where on one side you have the now, and you talk about life today, and actually you also talk about life back then and on the other side of the page. So it could be maybe sentences on both sides of the page. You can talk about any topic you want. Technology in terms of today and back then, education, houses, fashion, roads, music, schooling, and the experience of COVID. It's entirely up to yourself and what you want to do with it. So keep that in mind. So hopefully that's clear. A now and then page. The fourth thing that you need is actually your opinion. So you can pop up on a page called My Opinion, what I think of the topic, or you can pop up maybe throughout your project as some sort of a speech bubble. So your project, it's your project, your opinion is important. What you think of what you're researching, is the story important to tell in your neighborhood, in your community, in your family, and reasons why. And I kind of give the analogy or give the story that if you were researching a building, for example, and you found out that the building was going to be demolished in the morning, would you stand in front of the bulldozer that was going to demolish your favorite building and say stop, or would you just go, look, demolish the building? And what reasons would you give to the bulldozer person to stop? So why is your building or maybe the story of a person so important? So you need your opinion in your project book. So as popping up as a page with a few sentences, or popping up as a speech bubble kind of throughout your project book. It's entirely up to yourself and what you want to do. The last thing you need to do is actually show your work to people. Now I'm skipping through this particular slide. This is a slide I show every year, especially this particular slide. And it's about some ideas for publicity. So there's no point you working on this project for 9 or 10 weeks and nobody actually sees your project. So here are some ideas. Now, with COVID in mind, some of these ideas are redundant. Some of the ideas maybe you might be able to do. A display in a school library. You won't be able to bring people together in a group to see it, but you could still maybe put some of your project book into some sort of poster display. Some people could contact the local newspaper saying, look, I'm doing a project here, some of my top 5 or 6 findings. I have here local church, but I know local church newsletters now are defunct. They're not running at the moment. Community centres are also closed. Credit unions are still open for displays. Old folks home, elderly home, you won't be able to go into an old folks home showing them your project. But you could do some sort of virtual exhibition, or you can show maybe other classes in your school the work that you've been working on. Maybe you might have a sign-in sheet, maybe just show it to your family or your friends, and stay safe in that regard with social distancing and so on. But I need you to show your work to some people. So reach out into the local community. And it's not just about reaching out into the community and to say to someone, look, sign my project book there. And ask the people that you're reaching out to, what's their opinion on your project book. That's important. So I just skipped through a few pages here. You do need a publicity page. So this was actually a Parents' Day about 2 years ago in a school. Now you could have a Parents' Day, but on Zoom, where you give a Zoom link to your parents or grandparents at home or guardians, and they connect to Zoom, and you can actually present some of your work. Or use another form of technology, or maybe you could create a newsletter in the school on the project or projects that are going on, and send that home as some sort of newsletter to parents, guardians, grandparents, and so on. So have a think about that. So here are my last two slides. So I do realize that I've just bombarded you with kind of different ideas, but I do need a beginning and a middle and an end. With sections or chapters. So you need like 3 to 4 chapters or sections. They're small chapters. Your project book needs to be colorful because the world is a colorful place. Cork is a colorful place. Your project book needs to be creative. So it needs to have a model or a film. It needs to have your imagination. So it needs to have a now and then page. It needs to have your opinion, either as a page or you pop up somewhere in your project. And then the last thing is that you need to show your work in some shape or form to people. Now, you're probably looking at the percentages kind of here, and you're looking at like the 100% and the super fantastic project on the right. If your project goes through to be considered to be a prize-worthy project, and I have to choose between 2 projects, and the judges have to choose between 2 projects, the people who are reading it, who are going to read your project after me, I shortlist the projects. Then the percentages are actually called into play. So you don't really have to, if you do the project and you're colorful and creative, in one sense, that's all I'm looking for. But if you add in the imagination, opinion, and publicity, you're really kind of pushing your project onwards, and you're really going towards a super fantastic project. So try to tick off as many of these 5 things as possible, and they're really important. So this last slide I want to show you, like this is a map of your project wheel of project pages, like the white boxes or pages. So you can see here, page 1 is some sort of title page. Page 2 is some sort of contents page. Section 1, the first part of the story that I want to tell you. And then you've got information and drawing on one page, maybe some more information on a picture on another page, maybe a third page if you want to. And then section 2 could be the next part of the story I want to tell. Section 3 is the next part of the story I want to tell. How I made the model of the film. So you do put the film as a USB kind of into your project book and have a page as well, just like the model and how you made it. And also have an opinion page, or you might pop up, as I say, across a few sections. And now and then page, publicity, end, conclusions. But it usually comes in around that 20-page mark. That's not 20 pages full of writing. That's 20 pages full of kind of drawings, kind of information, and different elements. Now, sometimes people enter as an individual, so it's important for you that this map is really, really important. If you're doing a class project, you may only be involved maybe with one section or one drawing or one picture, but it is important that you put together a colorful and creative project. So I'll just stop sharing my screen. I'm really delighted that you're entering the project this year, and it's also very important for you to have fun with the project. You actually enjoy it. I do look forward to reading your work. In terms of the closing date for submission of projects, the official closing date is the first week of January, but I'm saying to everyone, get it in before the Christmas break, especially COVID restrictions might come in and things might stop your work or advance your work. So work away on it for the next kind of 9 to 10 weeks. If you have any questions, please field them through your teacher, who will email me. There's no hard and fast way of doing this project. It's just hard. There is hard work involved, but there's a lot of fun as well involved in it. So please enjoy it. The website that goes with the project is www.corkheritage.ie. And that's my own heritage website. There's a lot of pictures on that. There's a lot of historical information on that, and there's links to articles I might have I've written that might be of use to you. And there's also a section on the school's heritage project that might be of use to you. But if you do have any questions, just go through your teachers. So I'll sign off for now. Many thanks, and stay safe to everyone.